on from the start, or are you bringing me in?
We're here. We're live.
Oh, okay.
Live already. It's all right. How you doing, everyone? Welcome to Hidden Existence. Our timing's really on point tonight. Just waiting for the washing machine to finish, actually, because it was making a bit of a noise. But thanks for being here. It is night 9. Is it night 9? I hope it is. Is it? I think it is. I've lost count now. Could be night 8 of the 12 Days of Christmas. And my guest tonight is a filmmaker, John Williams. How you doing, John?
Hello. I'm good, thanks.
Good to have you on here. Now you was on recently, actually, with your crew from your channel Nights of Terror, where you go to different places to see what's going on. Naturally, with hardly any equipment, just go with the instincts, I guess, to see what you pick up. And you've been to you've put 3 out now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've just finished the 4th one.
Yeah. Where's your 4th one? Give us a little bit of detail about where that one is.
The 4th one's actually it's a poltergeist haunting,
right,
in the Midlands in the UK. It came about quite unusually, actually. I was using this house for a film project I'm working on, and I found out that this property that's empty at the moment is going to be demolished soon, even though it's quite a nice detached house. Then I discovered that it's had 15 previous owners in the last 45 years. So I was asking questions, why is this? What's wrong with the place? And I got general hints that the place had hauntings. The previous couple died there. Not that had anything to do with it, of course. But yeah, poltergeist activity and things like that were going on. So I asked him if I could spend the night there with my friends, and he said, "Yeah, no problem. He's going to knock it down anyway, so he doesn't care." So
right.
So we did.
Yeah, that's there must be something going on there. That's a lot of owners to have in one house, especially with a bungalow as well, like we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
Wonder if it's something with the land, even.
Yeah, we mentioned that in the episode, actually. It could be. I mean, who knows? But I think a lot of it's. I mean, with the place where I used to live, when I was brought up, there was a house about 4 or 5 doors up that always seemed to be for sale, and it was a really nice house, like a little country cottage. It was always for sale. A family had moved in, then 6 months later, it's for sale, and they didn't even stick around to sell the thing. It was always for sale, 6, 7 times, always for sale, and people used to call it the haunted house, even though we had no sort of
proof.
Yeah, it was just assumed. I mean, why else? Why else could it be for sale again? What's wrong with the place?
It's either haunted or it's the neighbours, isn't it? What else can it be?
Yeah, well, we were the neighbours, so I can understand.
Oh, you were, didn't it? Right. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't realise you were the I mean, the direct neighbours, maybe.
But I mean, this bungalow hasn't got any neighbours, so.
Weird. Weird. It's funny then that I was talking earlier about. I said I thought we'd talk about the Enfield poltergeist, which back I think it was the 70s, wasn't it?
60s, 70s, like, yeah.
Yeah, and those girls were, there was all sorts of things happening. But the thing for me was the guy, I don't know if it was Ed Wallace, I think he's called, who interviewed them, and her voice changes to like an old woman. That is creepy stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't understand anything about poltergeist.
Wasn't that one of the Warrens cases?
Oh, is it Ed Warren? Maybe, yes.
Yeah, I think they were involved because I think The Conjuring 2 was based on that.
Right.
It was one of their cases, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that creeps me out. That sort of stuff. And I just wonder how much of it goes on. I've never actually. I thought about it ages ago, and I never did it. But getting in touch with a local priest or something, and asking them, do you ever do, exorcisms? Do you hear about this sort of stuff? Because I mean, I don't know what it is. It's energy, isn't it? I think at least the basis of it.
It depends where you are. I think if you go to sort of more far-reach places in Africa, and I think parts of, I think all over the world really, they take it a lot more sort of seriously. They do it's a lot more prominent, I suppose. Is that the word? I
Well,
think over here, I think it's sort of the more Western side of things. I think it's more sort of in the realms of Hollywood.
mm-hmm.
But we know elsewhere that they take it very seriously.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, I don't know.
Well, I guess more maybe religion kind of comes into it a little bit, spirits and things like that, demons, and so it's very easy, isn't it, for things to go wrong, for people to blame something on it, a bit like the Pendle witches, strokes of bad luck, saying the wrong thing, and then something happened. I hope your grandma dies, and then grandma dies, and you're a witch, and it doesn't take much to. In fact, I know about it in some places in Africa where kids are blamed for bad luck, and fake witch doctors, will take money from these families and try and get this, kid back to normal, and it never happens, and they just keep taking money, and these kids end up being outcasts. They get put away out of their villages. I mean, there's an organisation called Stepping Stones that was created because of this. A guy went over there from my town, actually. He was doing a PhD in oil, and came across this kid, 3-year-old, and ended up, this girl had been cast out of the village. She was being blamed for stuff that was going wrong, crops dying and things like that. And what they thought were the witch doctors couldn't do anything else with her. They didn't have any more money. And some of these kids were like almost buried alive. They had nails hammered into their heads. I mean, just absolutely horrifying. And they set up a charity called Stepping Stones, where they built basically orphanages for these kids, places for these kids to stay, to learn, to study, and then to be, fostered on or whatever. And that's using, the religion or all this ghost spirit stuff to their own advantage. Going a bit off it now, but that's how serious people take spirits.
Well, I think, like I say, it's obviously agenda driven. It's all about people got a belief system in a certain thing, whether that's religion or spirits or demonic possession. People are going to take advantage of that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
still crazy, Chris. You're right. They do. Kids get killed. People get killed. Just a crazy thing.
Child trafficking and that,
and all that.
Big thing.
Massive, yeah. So, well, let's go. Let's not get too deep into.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's go back to filmmaking a little bit. What are your favourite films?
Surprisingly enough, horror films. Anything. I used to love sci-fi films when I was younger. But I think because I grew up in what you would call a haunted house, it's sort of I think it's no surprise the kind of films I end up making.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you sort of, I mean, especially what I'm doing now with Nights of Terror. It's all about looking for answers, I suppose. Because I experienced a lot of things when I was younger, things I could never understand. It started off with parents. We used to be heavily into sort of spiritualism and used to do things like the Ouija board on a daily basis when I was there as well. I was about 7 years old.
Right.
Sitting there doing the Ouija board with my parents. Quite perfectly normal to me.
Normal, yeah.
And also perfectly normal was having visitors in the house, especially at night time. I'd hear, I never saw anything, but I could hear various things in my bedroom, creaking floorboards and that kind of thing, smells. And my dad would always say to me, "Don't worry about it. It's your auntie Emily coming to visit you," and all this. I'm thinking, she never visited when she was alive. What's she doing here now? But then once they became religious, all that changed. So it wasn't my auntie Emily anymore. It was demons. So it was like, oh, phew. There's.
What changed? What was the sudden turnaround for them?
It was my dad. I don't know the exact details, but my dad was talking to one of my aunties who was a Jehovah's Witness, and he just sort of something clicked with him. I think something scared him, obviously, because certain things were going on in the house. It must have been something she said. I think it just scared him into sort of going on the other extreme, basically.
Wow. So what sort of smells were you smelling?
To be honest, I don't know. To me, it was perfume because I was so young.
Right, okay.
It's like, like real strong smells of perfume, really strong, or it probably wasn't perfume, but just something really strong.
Floral or something like that.
Yeah, it could have been anything, but really, where you can just sort of, what's that smell? It was more than that. It was like, oh gosh, what's that smell? Wow. It was more like that. But I get loads of things. I mean, how long have we got? This stuff went on for a while, but once the religion side of things it came into things, it really escalated quite a lot to more severe things, So whether that was psychological, I don't know, but that's certainly what happened.
Well, I think you can feed into things as well, can't you? And make them much, much bigger than what they are.
Yeah.
So who knows? But like you say, you thought it was normal. So
yeah, it was. Well, I say normal. Yeah, it was just weird, but these things went on for a long time, till like teenagers, just bad stuff. I mean, we slept we slept downstairs as a family for like years. We wouldn't go to bed. As kids, we wouldn't go to bed. We ain't sleeping downstairs on his own. So my poor parents had to. Yeah, like I say, it was pretty intense. I mean, we weren't flying around the room or anything, but it was pretty bad, some of the stuff we'd seen and heard. But I think to answer your question, when I got to a certain age, obviously leaving home and things like that, you sort of forget these things. And most people who experience these things, they tend to look back and try to rationalize things. Do you know what I mean? But with me, it was sort of, I look back and thinking, what was all that about? Do you know what I mean? I was like, there's no rationalizing these things. I knew what I'd seen and heard and etc. So as an adult, I was like, well, what was that all about? As a rational adult, knowing what I know now, it was a strange one to try and digest. So hence things like this, what I'm doing now. Obviously, I made films, so I made films about all the things I was interested in. I've seen the UFO as a child. I made a film about that. I was interested in Bigfoot, werewolves. I've done films about that. So that's my way of, that's my way of not dealing with things, because I was never mentally scarred by anything. But it's my way of sort of reliving these things, I suppose, to a degree.
Yeah. Just going back to like the Ouija board, I remember my mum and her sister, my auntie, playing with Ouija boards when I was a kid. It might have just been something back then.
Good family fun.
Yeah, I think it was after Christmas dinner. Kind of cut the letters out. Wrote the letters out, did all that.
Should we get the Ouija board out? Shall we?
Yeah. Well, it was sold as a game, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. That was Hasbro.
Yeah, it was a board game.
Yeah.
What were they thinking? I don't know. There's no dice, is there? There's no battery, so they must
with something.
Yeah, exactly. That's scary.
What makes me laugh about Ouija boards though is whoever I speak to about Ouija boards, it just comes up in a conversation. It's generally people who don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in that nonsense. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in anything like that. You mentioned a Ouija board. Oh, no. Oh no, you never catch me near a Ouija board. How do you think it works? Batteries?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
it's a ghost, isn't it?
Yeah. It's something, isn't it? Some energy of some sort. Whether it comes through, I don't know. I know I used to play around with my mate. And sometimes that glass was going so fast, you just know it's nobody else doing it. I mean, it freaks me out.
I think since I remember when I was a kid, I remember seeing them take the fingers off the glass and it moving around in a circle. That sort of very vague memory, but I remember it. But I've seen since then. I haven't seen. You don't know. You can never 100% trust a person you're doing a Ouija board with. I don't tend to do it anymore, of course, but you don't know, do you? You don't know if they're going to be moving it. I know subconsciously you think you're not moving it, but you're being taken on with the momentum.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I get, it's just when it spins that fast and it just, and you're looking at everyone's finger. He's pressing down on it. He's doing and like you say, you want to trust him, but then you just don't know, do you?
No, you don't know. Of course you don't.
Maggie M10. This is interesting. Actually, one of the creepiest places I've experienced, in my honest opinion, was the field where the Battle of Hastings took place. Such a weird energy. What? Tell us a little bit more, Maggie. You could imagine there, couldn't you? I guess.
Yeah, a lot of death, and they say that about the Somme.
Right.
What's it called? Sorry, place in France.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Yeah, a lot of people died on that one day. So I mean, there's got to be some kind of residual awfulness going on there,
Yeah, yeah. It's is it people's souls that are their spirits, and obviously if you die, that leaves the body. Is there like an opening where you just slip into another dimension?
Yeah,
but you're still there. But you're still there on that cusp. I don't know.
Or it's just a memory replaying. And there's so many theories. So many theories about everything, about ghosts, about UFOs, Bigfoot. So many theories. We're probably all completely wrong, and it's something totally different. But we can only guess. It's fun to guess. So.
That's it. Or the other way is like we've, quite a few of us have not, know what it is, said what it is, but we'd never know anyway.
Yeah.
There's just no way of knowing. So, like I said, the search continues. The questions keep coming, don't they? You can end up chasing your tail a little bit.
Definitely.
So Hazard's been to Culloden in Scotland. Is that a battlefield there?
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
Completely silent.
I've been completely silent. Glencoe was. I've been to the Glencoe, the site of the Glencoe massacre up in Scotland. That's eerie. I mean, obviously you've got the knowledge of what went on there. I suppose it's the same again in places like Auschwitz in Poland, places like that.
Yeah.
You're going to get that vibe, aren't you? It's the same. Somebody says, "Oh, it's a haunted castle." You're going to castle. You always get that vibe because you're expecting things. You've got that sort of built up.
Definitely. Yeah.
Trepidation about the place.
Yeah. So we definitely give off stuff, don't we? EMF. We give off our own signals, frequencies.
Yeah.
And stuff we can't see, but is there. So when you're doing your films, because I really like your films that you do, and maybe me just doing these like shows, and I've made a couple of little videos, literally like a 6-minute video, and I can't even imagine putting together a 2-hour or something like a film. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, and for you to even come up with an idea to create a story, how much do you how easy is it to translate that over to your actors? Do you kind of let them develop a little bit of it? Or is it everything entirely on you, of the script and everything and how it goes? Or do you like to develop a bit or let people develop it a little bit with you?
I think with the characters, obviously you come up with the idea of the film, the concept of the film, what it's about, etc., etc. The characters, excuse me, but you know, a good actor will have their own. Excuse me. A good actor will have their own sort of slant on how their character should be. And this goes all the way like Star Wars, Harrison Ford. Excuse me, had a lot to say in his character. So you know, it all depends really. But yeah, I like to dodgy throat all of a sudden. Yeah, it's good to actors to have the say anyway. So
yeah, puts a little bit of their personality into it.
Definitely,
I guess,
definitely, yeah.
Apart from just reading off a script.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing your films, have you ever had anything weird happen on set?
All the time.
Oh,
I was doing a film called Crispy's Curse a few years back, and we saw a UFO while we were filming.
Right. Wow.
Light up in the sky. We were just watching. We were in sort of like a big open sky area sort of thing, and we were looking at the stars because there were so many, and we were looking at what we thought was a satellite going overhead, and it sort of stopped, and then there was another one moving towards it. Yeah, just a lot of stuff was going on, and it turned out to be like one brighter light that was pulsating.
Wow.
These two other little, excuse me, two other little stars or whatever it was went into this as well, and it just shot off like a shooting star. And it was nuts. There was about 7 of us who saw it, and it was in the local paper as well. So that was pretty weird.
Yeah.
Another one when we were doing, I did a found footage film 2 years ago called "There's Something in the Shadows," and it's a Bigfoot, Sasquatch related sort of thing about a group of YouTubers who go off into the Highlands of Scotland and search for a paranormal portal. Obviously, you got things like the Loch Ness Monster or whatever there, and obviously Aleister Crowley had a home there as well. So a lot of weird stuff going on up there, and obviously Bigfoot as well, which is what the film was focused on. So, yeah. So, but while we were doing that, we heard, because part of that was filmed in Cannock Chase, which is quite not a million miles away from me, about an hour's drive away from me. You know, a lot of people know about Cannock Chase, that reputation of dogmen, werewolves, UFOs, black-eyed children.
Everything. Hotspot, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's 100% got some kind of portal. But while we were there, we had so many things. Even a part of it was on the film. There's the 3 guys in a tent who were trying to they could hear the Bigfoots. We actually used real Bigfoot sounds from I contacted Ron Moorhead.
Right.
He allowed me to use.
All right, great.
See how it sounds, and I thought, oh, banging. That's cool, you know. So we used all them. So all the sounds that you hear, you know, proper.
Yeah.
Anyway, if there's a scene, we listen to all this in a tent at night, and we say, right, okay, go, time to go, sort of thing, escape. And one of the guys, one of the actors shouts, "Which way?" And the female voice says, "This way." Right? And we were the only ones there. There was no female there.
Oh.
So that was weird.
Yeah.
We didn't hear it at the time, obviously. It was when I was editing the film afterwards. And then also you hear like a child's voice not long after that. Just like sounds like maybe 1 or 2 year old girl.
Yeah.
Saying something. And it's still in the film. If you watch the film, it's still there.
Right.
When they get out of the tent at the end, you hear a female voice saying "this way," and then followed by like a child's voice.
I never really thought about that. How much you listen to when you're listening back over your recordings?
Oh yeah.
How many EVPs you pick up?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
especially when we're up in Scotland and weird stuff like whispering and yeah, that was pretty weird. And then Cannock Chase again, just distant sort of clacking at almost like tapping of rocks, or I mean, it could be anything, I know, but still.
Yeah, it's all interesting stuff, isn't it? Audio.
Yeah.
Definitely is more to the imagination than pictures. For me, of Bigfoot, I'd rather listen to some audio. At least you've got something to go with. Or to play.
I did get a photograph when I was up there. It wasn't meant to be, if anything, a stuff, but it was actually a week before I was doing a recce up there. It was basically like location hunting. Right up there, I was on a logging mode and I was taking photos. I was taking photos of the track because it was like a upturned route, bending over one direction. I thought that's a good, what's the word? A good way of finding this road again that leads into some really dense forest. So I was taking photos, I zoomed in, took one. I took about 40 odd photos, but when I got back and I sort of checked, going to the photos, one of them really stood out. It looked like a Bigfoot in mid stride going across the path.
Right.
I was like, huh? There's no way I saw that. If I'd have seen that, I would have,
You'd have noticed it.
I would have noticed it.
Yeah.
Certainly. And but I didn't. Just taking photos, and there it was. I mean, I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot. It could be something else, but it certainly looked like one to me. And I didn't see it at the time. Even if it was something else, I still would have. It would have taken me aback because it does look like one.
Yeah. But what do you feel about Bigfoot here? Do you think if they are here, they're kind of in Scotland, or I mean, there's nowhere really more remote, is there?
I know, but I mean, I live in sort of the Midlands. The amount of what's the word, countryside in England, well, in Britain, is huge compared to the amount of people that live here. They've got like sort of 60 million people, is it?
I'm thinking more remote. I mean, I know like the Peak District, Lake District, it's like tourist,
yeah,
sort of like kind of thing, isn't it? I know, but Scotland maybe more remote, less people going to.
Maybe so, but I think if it's a nighttime thing, if you can travel by at night, like Dogmen in Cannock Chase, there's supposed to be a lot there, and Bigfoot as well, and it's not massive, Cannock Chase. It's big, but it's not huge. But every time I've gone there, I've experienced something. But I think if it's like if it's something that travels at night, something that moves at night, feeds at night, hunts at night, it's easy. I mean, the badgers, right? The UK's full of badgers. Badgers everywhere. You can't move for badgers. I've never seen one ever.
Right.
I've never seen one, but I know they're there. There's hundreds of them, millions of them. Well, thousands.
I've seen one. I've seen one, and it was dead on the side of the road.
I was going to say, was it alive?
It wasn't. No, sadly, it was on the side of the road.
But that's it. They do their thing. They travel at night. They feed at night. They do their thing. And, you never see them. You never see moles. Yeah. They're always there. So I don't know. I know you're talking about a 9-foot looking, creature here. So I know it's slightly different. But if these things don't want to be seen at any point, or at all, then they're not going to do. If they can if they live out in that wild. So I know a guy, I can't say his name, but ex Special Forces, ex Special Boat Service, and they do sort of various training exercises in forests, sometimes up in Scotland, sometimes in Norway, and they'll do training exercises with the Navy SEALs, and they'll one of these guys will hide. It's basically a massive game of hide and seek, and it could be 2 weeks before they find this person. And this is a human who's used to living in houses and stuff. They've got a basic knowledge of survival and capture and evasion, this kind of stuff. So if you can imagine someone who's built ready camouflage for this stuff, who's born into this environment, they ain't going to be found if they don't want to be found.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a possibility.
Mm.
Other caves in the UK, yeah, there's lots of caves. I mean, you know, and I think if they're going to be anywhere, they're going to live underground. I mean, that's just
Mm.
my.
I mean, the thing with Cannock Chasers, it's got huge amount of mines underneath, a massive amount of mine shafts underneath. Because obviously
Yeah,
huge quarries as well, you know.
Same around here. Lots of it,
Mm.
limestone quarries. You know, there's lots of places to hide.
Mm.
Just for those that don't live in the UK, this is why I'm saying it up here, because I mean that is so, you can just tell, can't
Yeah.
you? It's so remote. There's not a lot of people living up there.
No.
But I mean there is. I mean, I think north upwards, when you get like here, the Yorkshire Peak District and that.
Yeah.
But there's just so much going on. I mean, I know we're only 9% built on 9% of the UK,
Mm.
but there's still lots of people in between. I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, they can seem to be able to do whatever, can't they?
Mm.
But I don't
Again,
know.
if you
It's
look
something.
into the portal, if you look into the portal theory as well, a lot of it makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, I used to work with a chap when I was in nursing years ago, and before even sort of entertaining the idea of Bigfoot as well. I remember him talking about when he used to work in a factory in Stoke. Stoke's, you know, pretty built up area. There's what, 500,000 people live here, I'd say. It's a reasonable sized city, I'd say. I was doing a night shift with him in this hospital, on the psychiatric ward, and I was just talking to this guy about scary stuff like you do. You're in an asylum, so you're going to talk about things like that. Anyway, he was talking about the scariest thing he saw. He was working in a factory. I think it was like what they used to call pot banks in the UK, which is making plates. You know, Staffordshire pottery and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He was working one of these places and he was emptying the skip, going upstairs in the factory. And it was just in the middle of the day in this factory in a built-up city. He walked up the stairs in this factory and there was like a skip down below. He was emptying the skip and he saw this figure in the corner, big dark figure, about 8 foot tall, in the shadows pretty much, but it was there, very, very clear. Shoulders, no neck, glowing eyes, staring at him. And this was in the middle of the daytime in the middle of a city, you know, not a tree in sight. And he just ran. He said he never forgot it. He said he didn't know what it was, but he was describing Bigfoot pretty much, but in a factory, in a random factory in Stoke. So
A built place. Yeah.
yeah, so who knows? It's got to me, it's got to be some kind of portal. You know,
Yeah.
some way of you know, getting from A to B, basically.
Definitely. It's just, you know, the whys, isn't it? Why? But yeah, I've heard a few other accounts where it's in town. You know, it's close by. There's just no rhyme or reason, is there?
Somebody reports like a dog, a werewolf being on a roundabout.
Where's that?
It was in the UK somewhere, but somebody reported a dog man on a roundabout
Right.
climbing. It's just random things like that's quite weird.
I've actually not looked into UK accounts that much. Not because I haven't, you know, because I've been so focused in America on BIGFOOT ODYSSEY, kind of get swept up with that. But
Yeah.
you know, it'd be nice to hear from people in the UK or more people in the UK that have had experiences. And you know, I mean, like I said, I've been out. I did look for Bigfoot. I know I wasn't going to find him, but I did go looking. I went to places that I thought would really. There's a really old wood up here, and that is near a quarry. It's near the estuary. It's just by the bay.
Yeah.
Really ancient woods. Can't remember the name of it now. It'll come to me in a second. And I don't know. There was a real vibe in that place. So you walked into it, there was like energy there. But I didn't see anything. But what does that mean? But I just, like I say, where do they stay? And eventually they have to grow, don't they? They have to. They're populating. Do they either die quite young to keep the population down, or the families will be getting bigger and bigger, and surely we'd be seeing them. If people in America are just like bumping into them on a hike, you'd think we'd be tripping over them over here if they're reproducing and growing families. So that's what doesn't make sense to me. I think we'll be seeing them a lot more because it's just such a smaller place. America's huge. There are loads of people seeing them. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's easy for us to just be over here, and I mean, what I want to do if we ever do a second series of Nights of Terror, once we've got to do this one first, what I really want to do, I want to sort of go over to the States, in a British perspective. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously I believe it, and all the guys from Nights of Terror, we all believe in Bigfoot. We've all heard, apart from Dino. Excuse me. We've all heard signs of Bigfoot enough to make us believe in Bigfoot anyway. So we really want to go over there and just sort of go to these various hotspots and just sort of, we're not expecting to catch a bit, hear anything or see anything even. We're just to experience and, interview people, and because it's easy for someone sitting in the middle of Manchester or somewhere like that in a high-rise flat saying, "Oh, there's no such thing as Bigfoot." I'd take some guy living in, the middle of Texas and a big thicket or something in Texas. I'd take his word over some guy in Manchester in a block of flats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I would look. Where would you go in America? Where would you love to actually?
Excuse me. I'd love to go to Texas, Mississippi. I think there's a lot of weird stuff going on down there.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many places. Just listen to accounts. Seems to be a lot in Oregon. What I've heard. Yeah, we just plan it out basically, and just plan a road trip. go to these different places, and like I say, interview people, and a lot of people I like to interview. So.
Yeah. We've got Randy Harrington in. I would touch Shane Carpenter. See if we could invite in John to the 400. That would be interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on in the 400.
Yeah. I saw that film actually.
Yeah, into
the 400. Yeah.
Look at that, you're getting an invite before me.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah, I'm on for that, mate. Definitely.
No, if I got a chance to go over there, obviously I would like to go there. I'm not sure if I want to see Bigfoot close up from a distance, maybe. Do you think you'd be prepared to see one of these things close up?
It depends on the circumstances, I think. Because I go to Cannock Chase quite a lot, just to experience things, but with people, friends, like we did one for Nights of Terror, episode 2 of Nights of Terror, and it was a bit pathetic. I mean, any Americans watching us, any hunters in particular, should I say? And we spend half an hour we're talking to a deer basically. I mean, but they were grunting, so what we're going to do, yeah. But sorry, what was your question again?
Yeah, it's all right. It's about would we be prepared to see one?
Oh, sorry, I would like to see one. Yeah, not really.
Yeah, but I wonder if awareness makes a difference. Well, I think it does. Knowing about it before, rather than just being out there and seeing something that you not even have a clue what Bigfoot is.
Yeah, well, maybe if you're not looking for it, maybe you won't see it. I mean, they say the same thing about UFOs. if you're not looking for them, you're not going to see one. But it's not, I don't think that's entirely true. So I wasn't looking for a UFO when I was 7, but I still saw one. So who knows? But I think if you're not looking at the sky, then you're not going to see as many, I suppose.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I think I'd like to see one, but in the right sort of with people with me. Yeah, I don't want to come face to face with one in the middle of the night in a forest on my own. You know, because you don't know, it's 50-50. Is it going to start leaving a little presents, or is it going to bash your brains in?
Yeah.
You know, look at the drawer, isn't it, by the sounds of it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it seems to be most of them are, you know, harmless. I know it's a terrifying experience, and you kind of come away with it feeling like you were going to die. But
I remember seeing this. Sorry, I interrupted. This actress who was in one of the films. She brought her husband along to the premiere, and he was something like 7'1".
Wow.
I was like, oh my frick! I was like, oh, you know, you're not used to see people this tall. It's like quite not horrifying. It was probably unfair word to use.
Yeah.
But it was so tall. It was like, oh. And then when people talk about seeing Sasquatch at like 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall, I'm like, you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And wide as well. And muscular, and that's, you know, it's a horrific thought, and coming face to face with one in the middle of the night. And yeah, I mean, talking to people obviously who've experienced these things, and they get upset. And I remember talking to Kerry about his experience, and you can see it in the face, and you can almost see what they see, and it must be, you know, a horrifying thing.
Yeah.
But I suppose in the right place at the right time, if you're with people, you see one from a distance. Great,
yeah. That's a scary thing. Kind of like with Kerry's experience, that, you know, you think of him as a big guy, and then to be frightened of something even bigger than him, you know, that's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Is
that
what
it is? What I like about listening to people's experiences is the details that they'll go into. You know, the particulars. Like with Kerry, was the like a whipping sound as he walked away. That's very specific.
Oh yeah.
And you hear so many things like that, you know, so many sort of particulars, so many specific things that are very believable. I mean, me listening to Sasquatch Chronicles for all these years has drilled that into me. Just listening to people that, I mean, you can show me all the photographs, all the videos in the world, doesn't mean anything anymore because they're CGI and, you know, so many people trying to fake stuff. What I believe in is people, you know, talking to people, listening to people, because you can't, you know, you got to trust your own judgment on them things. But
it's difficult, isn't it? Like with Kerry, you get to see him a lot. You get to know his personality.
Yeah.
And you can just get a feel for people if you talk to them enough. And it is very difficult. I think, you know, no doubt people are experiencing something. I'm not saying, you know, people haven't. There's definitely people seeing Bigfoot. I just wonder sometimes, is it always Bigfoot? You know, or you know,
could it be the 8-foot squirrel, for example?
Maybe, who knows? But they're definitely experiencing something, you know, and it's making sense of it. Which even when people see Bigfoot, they can't even make sense of that. So imagine having some encounter where you're not seeing it, but you're sensing it or you're hearing it, and then it could be anything, couldn't it? But that's maybe the scary thing, is the unknown.
Yeah.
I just had a quick look then at because I don't know if people know, but like Tyson Fury's from like my town, and I stood next to him once in a sandwich shop, and I just sat there, and he's 6'9". I remember looking up at him and thinking, my God, he was like huge, you know, like proper neck breaking, looking up. I mean, then to think, like you say, to add a few more feet onto that, he wouldn't have got into the shop. You know, it's just massive. So yeah, it's a scary thing, isn't it? And
yeah, intimidating.
yeah, just how this thing is still roaming around and nobody's putting the hand up to it. is also the other fascinating thing about it, is how can this thing be kept unknown or kept secret or just not even...
Well, that's it, Tennis. I mean, clearly, I mean, we know about it. A lot of people who are listening now know about it. So you're telling me the governments don't know anything about it? Of course they do. Of course they do. But why?
Well, I don't know who I was talking to about this and whether it was live or not, but it was about the logging industry. I think it was with Andy McGrath. Like in America, maybe the logging industry, they don't want it to ruin that. But there's, what about other places in the world where these are at? What about England? Don't have like a logging industry, and wouldn't they'd be trying to protect it as a species? I mean, it must be is it like a worldwide secret? All the governments in on this Bigfoot thing. It can't just be logging. I don't think it would be,
No, well, I think that's why it's little things like you think it's probably more. There's probably more to it than what we know. I mean, deforestation and all that. Yeah, but if we're talking portals, then it shouldn't really make a huge amount of difference. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh well,
I
yeah.
don't know. It's like I say, we just don't know. Do we? We can only guess. So.
Portals just make it too easy, though. Just popping in and out. It's like, just not into quantum physics or any of that. I can't even understand, the principles of it. Really, it's just too much. But who knows? Maybe that is the answer. I've said it before. It's a bit like the magic trick. You're looking at it, you're like, oh, how's that done? And then as soon as you know how, it's so obvious or so simple. And maybe that is just what it is. So when's your new video coming out on Nights of Terror?
Nights of Terror. I'm just editing at the moment because on the last episode 4 of this house, there was so much stuff going on. I'm not just saying that, there was so much stuff going on that I'm literally just chasing my own tail with the episode because I'm editing the episode.
Yeah.
It's replay after replay after replay. So, and there's something like 9 hours of footage to go through as well. It's just nuts. It really is nuts. I mean, I've never experienced something like that in one place. Yeah, it's nuts. Can't tell you much more about it really because
that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough.
So there's some things that potentially could be explainable because we're not there to say, oh, it's this and that, because the way we tend to do episodes is we are basically just stripped to the bone with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean we're all naked, God forbid.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh.
No, we basically we don't use spirit mediums, we don't use Ouija boards, we don't use any sort of equipment. We're just 4 friends because they're all actors. I'm not an actor, obviously, but people I know through acting, some people I've known all my life. And we're all interested in this kind of stuff. Like I say, we're all interested in Bigfoot. So we thought we'd do it, film ourselves doing it. So we ended up doing the first one. It was just basically us laughing and joking for the first half an hour because we didn't really know what else to do. So, but we did get good results. And on the second time, we went into these tunnels and we got good results by doing these things. So we sort of kept this. Somebody mentioned it's the Monsters Inc. effect.
All right.
Right. We don't know. I mean, it could be true, could be not, might not be true. But obviously, building up any kind of energy for spirits and things like that is a good thing because it brings things out. But more so if it's more of a positive energy, like when children are about, for example, laughing or joking, things like that. A lot more stuff could happen. And it seems to with us. I'm not saying that is a reason, but it seems like it could be. So we haven't changed what we're doing. Basically, we just go in, you know, have a laugh and a joke with each other like we would anyway. You know, nothing's forced. That's what we do anyway. You know, banter, taking a mick out of each other.
Yeah.
And see, like I say, if I've been on ghost hunts before when it's spirit mediums and things like that. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not for us because you'll end up talking to you know, somebody named Vera all night based on a hunch.
Yeah.
When instead you could be in this place experiencing what's around you. Just sit there and listen. You don't need to talk. Just sit there and listen sometimes.
That's it.
You know, I mean, on the second episode, we heard a noise, or somebody heard a noise at the top of the stairs. We spent an hour talking to what ended up being an air freshener in a toilet.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. But if there had been a spirit medium there, it might have been a different story. So there you go.
Yeah. And there's also that possibility that they're not actually interacting with you. You're both there in a place doing your own thing. It can be a coincidence sometimes, the interaction, which might give you that perception they're interacting with you, but maybe they're just doing, you know, the veil is thinning. I mean, I don't really know how to describe it. Almost like the fader, like there's a, you know, like the DJs use, and it's fading, something like that. And maybe they're not even aware you're there, or they're feeling you as an energy, or their perception.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think being in the right place at the right time is a good one. But I think a lot of the time we just philosophize on things. We just, like John, I think mentioned in the last episode, the way he perceives a ghost. If he ever somebody asked, I think Dino asked John, what do you think a ghost would look like? And he said, like static, like a VHS on the tracking, you know.
All right, yeah,
that kind of thing. And then Dino said about he would just hear noises like sound, like it engulf all the sound. You know, just weird little things that people perceive ghosts, you know, and what they would think and how they would see a ghost or hear a ghost. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I got a question before. Randy, if you're still in the chat, just check your message on Facebook. He said, John, would you like to try and get close to one? He's talking about Bigfoot, if you saw it or just enjoy the view.
Randy, I think I'd like to enjoy the view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go and chase
like a lot of things, yeah. I think
try and track it.
No. I see. I'll probably wave and say hello, and that'll be it. Yeah, I've no interest in chasing after one.
If anyone's got any questions for John, put them up in caps for me, please. Maggie says, smart man, John. I think it would be quite hard to track one as well. I mean, people have tried, haven't they? And
yeah, I've seen enough to not want to go approaching one. You know, I don't want to be missing 412. So.
Well, you never know what's gone on there, dear, as well. This is the other thing. Could be being blamed for things that they're not doing. There's so much that can happen. I know they're quite mysterious, some of those incidents, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes on that's weird.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, there's a lot more weird stuff, cryptids. Actually, recently, I can't even say his name. Actually, I was talking to a paleontologist at a festival. Yeah, it's a festival. Very, very clever chap. Travels the world. Dinosaur bones, that kind of stuff. Very, very clever person. And he was at this particular event where people were doing talks on Bigfoot and all this kind of stuff. I was talking to him after. I went for a drink with him after. Like I say, really smart guy. He goes on big treks in the Amazon, places like that, Papua New Guinea, and search for, various things. And I asked him what you're doing here, basically. And he said, well, when he was about 10 years ago, when he was in Cornwall, with his, I think his ex-girlfriend. He saw an owl man, what could only be described as an owl man, 7-foot owl man, in the trees above. And bear in mind, this guy knows animals. You know what I mean? He ain't going to get an owl confused with anything. But it was an owl man. He said he looked up in the trees above, and in the moonlight, you could see a huge thing with like an owl's head, big clawy feet. Yeah, it's one of them, you know. It's just saw it, and what can you do about it, you know?
Yeah.
Weird.
Wow.
So anybody can see these things, and I suppose it's
Yeah.
how you deal with it after.
I think we talked the last time we talked after the show about Paul Sinclair at Bempton. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
one thing after another there. A hot
Mhm.
spot of literally everything and anything you can think about. We've got a few more questions, but going back to Randy's question with the Bigfoot, Jack Melton, how you doing, Jack? They will escort you out the woods. Probably will. Hear a lot of that, don't we? People just know to get out, and they have these things flanking them or pushing them out. Maggie M10 says, is there a place you would like to go in the UK that you've heard is really active?
Cornwall has got so many sort of myths and legends. I've never been to Cornwall, but Cornwall's got so many myths and legends with pretty much everything you can think of.
Right.
Dartmoor, never been to Dartmoor.
Oh yeah.
Cairngorms, never been to the Cairngorms. They're supposed to be quite active, especially with Bigfoot. Yeah, there's a few places. I've been a lot of them, but there's a few places. There's a few left.
Yeah, good. Lindsay Bay says, have you interacted with anyone who has travelled through a portal?
Me personally, not knowingly, no. I'd like to, though.
Yeah, we hope, we lie in wait that someone will.
Maybe we've all travelled through a portal at some point.
It's knowing what it is. And it's all right as us using the term portal, but where has that come from? And is it, does that, is it what we think it is? I mean,
I asked somebody what a portal was once.
Know what it is.
I asked somebody what a portal was once when we were talking about a portal. It was like one of the big blue wobbly things in a circle.
Right, yeah, exactly. Is it
blue wobbly thing? Well, that explains that then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think a lot of people's information comes from Stargate and things like that, but I mean, it's almost a scientific thing as well, and it's almost like pseudoscience, but
yeah,
the fact that there is potentially other dimensions that run parallel with the zone. Why not? I mean, it seems quite hard to fathom, doesn't it? Quite hard to sort of grasp and believe, but it's there. It's more than possible.
Yeah.
Beyond the light, you know.
And maybe that's what it is. Maybe they are about, but we don't know what we're looking for. Because we're looking for that blue blob, but we shouldn't be. We should be looking for XYZ, whatever. Who knows? It could be like a little gap in a tree.
It's things like when people see footprints in the snow and they just come to a sudden stop. I'm talking Bigfoot footprints or 1 minute there, next minute they're not. So it all lends to that, but again, we don't know, do we? It's all guesswork.
Absolutely, all of it is. Here's some good advice, by the way, for anyone. Not just America, Bomber. It's cold over here in the UK. We've had a right bit of a freezing snap. Anyway, remember to dress in layers. Don't allow yourself to sweat. Just remove a layer and keep your extensions, heads, hands, feet, warm and dry. That'll get you through. All right. Thank you for that.
Extensions, I've
never heard them use that. I mean, we're learning tonight.
Let Inspector Gadget.
Yeah.
Go. As it goes.
I loved Inspector Gadget. Well, look, we have got to the end of the hour. It has been fun talking to you again. I'm looking forward to the next Nights of Terror, the next episode. in the haunted bungalow. That's what I'll call it. I don't know if it
Haunted bungalow. My
haunted
goodness me.
bungalow.
How terrifying does that sound?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to look forward to
No,
that.
it'd be called the bungalow of death, or the bungalow of doom, or something.
Doom.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
We're working on the thumbnails at the moment. The big
Yeah.
shocked face that all paranormal teams seem to do.
Yeah, thumbnails
Yeah.
are the hardest sometimes, aren't they? But the shocked face definitely is just
The shocked face. Oh, that does my head in so much. I can't be doing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you watch the episode and it's just like they've seen a squirrel or something.
Yeah, where was the shocked bit at?
Yeah, when they saw the squirrel.
Yeah, little rabbit or whatever it was.
Mm.
All right, well, thanks again, John.
Thank
No
you.
doubt we'll hook up again, and we'll have another show in the new year at some point. Thank you to everybody in the chat tonight. It's been good having you all here. Join me tomorrow night. We've got Shane Carpenter, Randy Harrington. We're going to have some good audio and a little bit of video, I think, and photos. I'm not sure, but we've definitely got some audio to play. I'm looking forward to it. Good night, everyone. God bless. Good night, Sandra. Good night, everyone. Yeah, until tomorrow night. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.